I'm sorry, I missed your reference of me because I was too busy writing a report. And everyone apparently, you said my name, everyone looked at me and I was just like,
Oh, you were not listening. Yeah?
I wasn't listening. I apologize.
No worries.
No. Rule.
Okay.
If you're going to hand that to someone, don't do it here. Do it here. Because otherwise, all I get is a picture of that in front of that, right?
Okay. But where do you stay?
I'm going to be there.
Because I mean, I have to be also careful with the.
I'm going to be there. Right? No, you're going to be quite close because I've got that big a lens.
Huh?
I'm not that big. You be here and be fine. What's that? Why do want small people? You don't want small people.
That's the problem with conferences. People are not stupid. Okay, people are still getting in. Hi, everybody. We need to start slowly to be in the schedule. Okay. Okay, we wait 2 more minutes and you have 2 more minutes to talk to each other. Yeah, go on. We wait for 1 more minute, Martin. Yeah, then. Okay, thank you, Martin. Good. Good. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed the dinner already. We will have right now the Test of Time Award ceremony of Chess 2022. And for that, I need to tell a bit of a story. For that, I wait for the other people to enter the room. Okay, Benedict did a good job. Okay. Never ends. I mean, it never ends. Huh? See coming. I mean, it never ends. Too many people. Next time, Okay, it seems that you are losing the attention. Yeah, please. Good. I think we can start if you pay attention to me. I may ask Martin again to I mean, it's loud enough, right?
No.
Even now? Okay. Okay. It seems that you need to hear loud sound, yeah? Yes? Okay, good. Yeah. Test of Time Award Ceremony Chess 2022. Yeah? I have to say that this is the first time that we have this ceremony in present. No? We had the Test of Time Award since 2020. And it was, of course, during the pandemic, and the entire ceremony was just online and virtual. And I'm very glad that we have this time at this in presence. And the awardees actually are here. That's very nice. Tell you a story. Probably not all of you are informed about this and how this works. It's actually the idea is to give this award to a paper with lasting impact in the field, with respect to academia, industry, how it's used by the other people, how, let's say, many times cited, how it changed the field, whether it was seen very impactful by the industry or not. Yeah, and the idea is to select a paper from chess or T-chess. You know, of course, at that time, we didn't have T-chess yet, but chess at the year of X, I mean, X is for this year, 2022, minus 21 to minus 19, means that from chess 2001 till chess 2003, a paper for 3 years. And the idea is to select one of those papers and also give this award to the authors and ask them to also present the paper, not really completely technical, but for example, the story behind the paper which is made. And of course, the process is like this, that anybody or anyone is able to nominate, and there is a deadline for that. And if you are not aware of this, there is a link at the bottom of the slides. And you can see that it is every year is like this, that usually in the start of May, we have the deadline and ask for nominations. And usually we also broadcast it and send some messages through, for example, Twitter or some other social media to motivate people to nominate the papers for this award. And then how it works and how the paper is selected. It's also a yearly process, and it's the committee is also rotating every year, and 2 members are appointed by the steering committee, and these two members invite 3 other members, and usually these 3 invited members are from the program committee or program chairs of those chess. It means that chess 2001 till chess 2003. Usually it should not be or it must not be, but it's usually the case. And also we usually try to have someone from the industry to have also the opinion and idea from the industry. Yeah, and then what happened, Ingrid Verbalweder and also myself were 2 members appointed by the steering committee, and I chaired this process. I mean, chair doesn't mean that I had any particular vote. No, it means that I just did the organization. Yeah, just make it clear. And then we invited Louis Goubin, who is also here. We're very thankful for his dedication to this. And he was the PC member of Chess 2003. And at the same time, he was the awardee of the last year. Yeah, if you have attended the chess last year, of course, virtual, you have seen that he received an award for the chess test of time 2021. And then also Erkay Savas, the PC member of 2001 and 2003, and Werner Schindler, who is also not, like the Erkay is not here, I have not seen him, is a PC member of 2003, and also he played somehow the role of the industry. I mean, he is not directly in academia. Good, what happened? Then we had a deadline of 2nd of May. We received 3 nominations from Chess 2001 to Chess 2003 for sure, as I explained. And of course, we have selected or we have considered a couple of criteria like the citations and how it has been seen by the community, how many other researchers followed these works, and how many other works have been built based on this work, and so on. And I have to say that the paper, I want to give actually some information about the paper or the award is. And most of the time now, if you are doing, for example, a deep learning side channel or write paper about deep learning side channel, you talk about, for example, some attacks or cite many other attacks. But one paper is actually common in all of those citations because, for example, you can imagine that you have seen the non-profiling attacks and also profiling attacks. And at the start you say, yeah, in Chess 2002, there was a paper showed that, okay, if you have a clone of the circuit, then you can do the profiling and perform the template attacks. And actually the award goes to the template attack. Yeah. Okay. We are very thankful that at least 2 authors showed up here, and it's very nice. Congratulations. Of course, not only one. Yeah, every author will get one. Yeah, and I will actually carry this for the missing author. Good. Thank you so much. Now the stage is yours, and we are going to listen to the talk by Pankaj and also by.
Yeah, you can start.
All right. Okay, you can have this mic, and it's the problem.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I think the people can hear me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Sure. So let me get started while the slides come up. First of all, I must say that very, very pleased to be here. I was there at the very first chess conference that was held in WPI. And I was last at chess in 2004, and had many papers in chess. But what's very enheartening for me to see is the turnout. Even at that time, Pankaj and I used to talk about how great a conference chess was because of its interdisciplinary focus, bringing people from all walks of cryptography, hardware, systems engineers together. And to be in such a big hall with this kind of a turnout is a testimony to the longevity of the conference. So that's absolutely wonderful. So thank you very much to the chess community for recognizing this award. Two of us are here. So Suresh, of course, unfortunately could not join and sends his thanks. So that's Pankaj. I think he's much more well known in the community because I think he was working with you guys for about 8 years after when I sort of disengaged. And that's the paper. So what we're going to do right now is try to take you through a very quick journey. We'll tell you very quickly what template attacks are about, right? And then we'll try to give you in a somewhat of a colorful way some of the background that actually led to the work that we did together. And I must confess that that was probably the most enjoyable part. Actually, I've been working at IBM for 30 years, and that part of my career, the 4, 5, 6 years when Pankaj and I worked together, were very, very enjoyable. And then we'll talk a little bit about the legacy and some future directions. And so let's get started. Pankaj.
Okay, so this is the way to kind of quickly describe template attacks. So you have a target card, and here it's doing RC4. It's basically putting 3 bytes, secret bytes into the state, byte 1, byte 2, byte 3. That's the signal you get. And what template attack showed you is you could build these templates, which are basically average signals and noise distributions for all possible values of the first byte. And then you can do a maximum likelihood test and do this, right? And so the techniques that were developed actually led to many other things like quantifying leakages from a device. And there's different types of attacks that worked on masking. Next slide. And so this is my favorite part. I'm going to go into the details of the template attack. So suppose you have N samples O1 to OL from some device, and there are K equally likely hypotheses H1 to HK about some secret unknown value. Let P of O/H be the probability that, hey, Pankaj, hold on. I don't know if you know about, this might have been new 2 decades ago, but this stuff is taught in high school today. So all these guys know this stuff already. Let's get to the real part, right? All right. Actually, we went about doing this work. Okay, so everybody knows this is folklore, right? I mean, 1998, Paul Kocher, Joshua Jaffe, Benjamin Yoon, they did the power analysis attacks, SPA, DPA, and literally the sales of smart cards plummeted by about 50%. So IBM at that time had a thriving business in smart cards. And of course, this is not something that they would let go. It's something you need to solve because it affects the business. And typically, if with industrial research, you got to solve the problem before even it gets out into the domain. So this colorful cast of characters were brought together. Some of you can recognize Don Coppersmith there, Charanjit Jutla, Pankaj, Helmut Scherzer, myself. And it was like a tiger team that was get together. The mandate was very clear. Go reproduce these attacks, figure out what enables them, and then come up with countermeasures. And that was also the time that we were actually trying to standardize AES. And I remember what we actually did was analyzed a lot of the submissions to the AES conference. And Pankaj had a great time going to Rome, and presenting all the problems, side channel problems with all the candidates, the 15 candidates that had been submitted. And then we had a paper that actually followed Paul's paper in Crypto 99, talking about countermeasures. So moving along, the problems got solved, confidence was restored. People thought, hey, we can work, we can work, we have countermeasures. But then Pankaj and I got together and said, maybe we can do something more, not looking at power, but looking at EM and electromagnetic emissions. And so we went and recruited Bruce Archambault, who had a very good background in what was called EMC, AMI, electromagnetic compatibility and interception. And so he got for us this broadband receiver that was contraband, I believe. You can't really get this on the market. And so we put stuff together, these multiple cards, put some antennas together. And you can actually see, can you read this on the screen that shows up here? And we started showing many of these kinds of attacks. And then in the meantime, the competition is catching up. And Professor Kiskater, Jean-Jacques Kiskater, I'm sorry he's not here, we'd love to see him here. He and David Samedi started publishing the SEMA and DEMA attacks. And now they required some carefully positioned probes. They required antennas, E and electromagnetic field probes, E&M field probes. So, but our approach was very different. So we decided to publish our results in the ePrint archives, and that was only 15 pages that we did there, and that showed up as empowering side channel attacks. And then we went and got this guy, a signal theory expert, Dakshi Agarwal. He joined the team, and using some of the techniques he provided, which Pankaj was alluding to, using modeling of noise and Gaussian noise modeling techniques, we were able to attack multiple cards and secure crypto processors. But in the space of 6 months, what we saw was the amount of stuff that we had on electromagnetic emissions, on using signal theory template. The paper was just burgeoning. It was like 42 pages at that time using this. And actually just one page was about signal theory in what we did. So, okay, so that was where we were, with 42 pages of EM analysis. One page was some theory on how to do signal processing and this maximum likelihood and all of that stuff. So this is the beginning of template attacks. So at the same time, we got a card to IBM. Hey, here's a card. It has a hardware DES engine, and we've jittered it so much that it can, you can see in this, there's a section. Do you have a clicker? Yeah. Oh, you cannot see this. So this section you can see where you see the little bit rise in the trace. That is let's go this way. The rise in the trace is where the hardware dies is. And so it's jittered. So the 16 clock cycles is in somewhere in this region. And if you take the average trace, you'd see nothing. And you have to do a lot of signal processing to pull out those 16 hardware dies. And they thought this is great. This is the best thing. And now side channel problem is solved. Why don't you buy this stuff, right? But then Suresh, who among all three of us has the best, nose for looking at signals and, an eyesight, figured out that there is a structure before it. And this structure is they're trying to do a CRC check on the key before they send it to hardware. Okay. And so he spotted this and he said, oh, this is something this, and this does not depend on the data. Okay. So then the idea of doing profiling came into being. So, we could do CRC, on a separate card, you can type different key bytes till the one you match is the first and then second byte and so on. So that's the idea that came to us. Hey, profiling can be done, right? And I would say at this point that JR was my manager. So let's look at what happened next, okay? And this is, I think JR is kind of responsible for this. So I go to JR. Hey, JR, we have tested a way to break the card. We're done, right? And he says, no, we're not done. You should try something based on this Dakshi's theory that's there in this EM paper. And maybe you can even do it with one trace and maybe you publish this, okay? So then, we could do that, but then the problem is in those days, it was not kosher to publish attack on actual hardware. You can't just say, this is a commercial card, I broke it this way, because that'll really bad, right? So we can't publish, right? And so JR, again, in the, his wise management ways, said something like, okay, then do it on your own RC4 implementation. So that's why we did it on RC4, although the first thing was actually on this CRC, okay? Okay, so now we have this theory. It's just like in theory here, this nice thing about noise models and so on. And trying to actually get it to work was extremely hard. So not to say that it was anything easy, right? Like the signal is pretty long, right? I mean, and you don't know, if you try to take the whole signal, it doesn't work because there's so much noise. You can't put the whole thing through this. And there's people who have done template attack knows there's a matrix inversion that comes in. Trying to invert like a big matrix, that didn't work. The results were terrible. So then we invented some practical simplifications. And I don't think we named them very well. So things like, we call things interesting points, okay? So that we don't have to look at the whole signal. And then we found out that sometimes we lose the most important hypothesis. So we created this, what's it called, the broad approach to pruning, right? So you keep more hypotheses that way. But after a lot of pain, we succeeded. And I think the reason why this paper is being recognized today is this result was unexpected. Single trace, RC4, you get the key. That was not expected at this time. So I'd like to apologize to all those who followed us and went through the pain of doing the template attack, but also to thank them for all the work that they have done subsequently to make them more and more practical. So it was tough, but I think we are really happy to the community for actually taking it further than we could ever do. Okay. So going back, what happened to the EM paper that started all this? So it's now 42 pages. So again, this is JR with his infinite wisdom who's going to talk about this. So here, JR, chess space limit is only 15 pages. What should we do? We've got 42 pages here. Okay. And so JR. That's JR, okay. The wise manager, right? All right, so chess committee comes back. Paper is very nice, but absolutely no way we're going to accept this length. Work with the shepherd and cut it down, right? So a very limited version called EM side channels also appears in the same chess. But all the maximum likelihood multivariate Gaussian noise is out, not there. But I do want to acknowledge that was how the 42 page was. Okay, and a lot of people have complained to me, your initial papers are very dense. Well, JR and I spent nights and evenings, arguing about every sentence, how to squeeze as much as possible into every sentence. So that's what happened, 42 pages to like the limit. So that's why they became so dense. Okay, and so this tome is published in another place. Okay. All right, JR,
yeah. So that's the paper. Yes, 2002. It had, we're very impressed with how it caught on and the citation. So there was really no design behind writing a very impactful paper. We got some results, we put it out there. Next chart. And, several researchers, very esteemed researchers, certainly better researchers than us, I would say, picked this up, went with it, showed, how one could make it much more practical and how one would actually to measure the security of it and so on. Especially this last paper, I think I gather this is catching on more these days about using AI as a tool and deep learning techniques to break implementations. It also had the effect of influencing some standards, especially the AIS 19 standard from the BSI, both for traditional public key cryptography as well as for elliptic curves. So none of this was planned, none of this was thought, but very happy that some of these things actually came to be. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go in two directions here. Like, what's the possible future for template attacks, right? And so I think I posit here that AI is becoming a very powerful tool, and that's kind of the direction where template attacks are going. So if you look at AI, it's revolutionizing the world. Like, there's some picture here of a self-driving car. There's this protein folding over there. One thing about AI is that if you make progress in one field, you typically can use techniques to improve another one. So for example, the protein folding work, I'm told, benefited a lot from natural language processing techniques. So those things came in, and that's why they could get the accurate protein folding, right? So deep learning can also be applied to cryptanalysis. I know a lot of people here work on this already, right? But there's something about deep learning and this that actually make it suitable, this problem very suitable, right? In side channel, you can collect a lot of data, right? There is some ability to do a gradient descent. So there is like differentiable structure in there. And then you can exploit some statistical biases. So when AI works, it works very well and it scales the most. So if you look at here, deep learning is kind of the one that will scale, whereas other techniques do not, right? So, this is kind of the template attacks and how you can extend them to use with using AI. So there are some advantages, no trace processing. This means that there is no finding those interesting points, which is an interesting exercise in or by itself. It's not necessary. You don't have to have a leakage-based model, right? And you can just take a signal and the neural net will tell you some, keys, what's the probability of that being the right key. And then you can, if you have many of those signals, you can sum them up and you do this, right? And so this is some work that goes on, and I think a lot of people here are working on this, right? Now, one thing that was good about those interesting points were you had to figure out first where the leakage is and then do the template attack. But if when you use AI, basically, it just tells you the answer. So here is this picture, right? So one neural net is telling you that they're seeing a dog breed called Boxer in this, right? Another neural net is telling you that they can see a tiger cat, right? So now the question is like, where is that information? Where are you getting it from? So there's this thing called explainability, which will tell you exactly where actually this neural net is actually looking and where it's getting the information about each of these. I think the same can be done with side channel, and there's people who are working on this already. So your neural net tells you, that there's a leakage, but then you go back and figure out where the leakage is and then go back to the code. So that's one way to kind of protect your implementation and this and get back this interesting points through this chain. Okay. All right. So last, we mentioned a couple of things. People here are very active in this space. People are doing template attacks and other things. I would mention two projects where if you can, take your knowledge and put them there in these open source. One of them is OpenTitan that Dom talked about. There's a lot of places there for you to actually put template attacks through. And the other one is open security keys. This is what people who are at risk of getting hacked by governments. They get these security keys. There's it's open source. You can put good crypto algorithms on those keys also. There are two possibilities for people to contribute their technology and make it happen. Yeah.
And so where we'd like to really end is to provide a little bit of guidance, perhaps for some of the budding researchers as to where they might focus some of their energies in terms of attacks. Clearly, there are, if you see it, more and more in the industry, the attacks are going deeper into the stack. We know this. And this is not just in consumer devices. We're talking about server boards and processors as well. And that's what has inspired, I think, some of the CHIPS Act that you've seen in the United States and the European CHIPS Act that we hear about here. And really 4 areas, right? Confidential computing, we've been at it now for more than a couple of decades. but there's a lot that remains to be done here. Not just in terms of monitoring, building the stack, the use confidential containers, but to take the bread and butter of this community, things like template attacks, and look at what those countermeasures would look like on what is called secure enclaves. So even after 2 years, it's a cross-industry effort. This is something that needs to be done. Same thing for fully homomorphic encryption. The promise was made about 13 years ago with Craig Gentry. We've chipped away at it. It's coming within the realm of practicality. There is hardware acceleration programs that DARPA has to build accelerators. But at the end of the day, we still have to prove that's secure, right? I mean, there are formal models that are being brought up, but somebody has to test them and look at things like side channels, template attacks on such accelerators to make sure that these are going to be secure. And then finally, there are things like quantum computing and secure chiplets. So there's going to be lots of good opportunity to lots of good work. So with that, on behalf of my co-authors, we thank you very much. Ever forward.
Thank you.
You should stop and
Right.
restart the recording.
So we're changing a little bit the sequence of the program. We're going to do now the awards session, then we do a break so everybody can go outside and catch a drink. And then afterwards we start the RAM session. And otherwise you guys have to wait until 10. All right, so the award session is, the purpose of the award session is basically to thank the people behind the scenes who make all of this possible. And I would like to start by calling Thomas and Sonia on stage. Are they here? So ladies first. Here's the camera. That's for you. Thomas, that's for you. Okay, so just 2 words, because I think probably most of the people in the room have no idea what's the role of a program chairs. These are the program chairs, so they are responsible for the technical contents of the conference, meaning that their job started around 1.5 years ago by first of all observing the previous program chairs for half a year and learn all the tricks of the trade. Then they have to write and publish a call for papers. They have to invite a large competent program committee that covers all the different topics that can happen here at chess, from puffs to white box crypto, of course, side channels, countermeasures, faults, everything, efficient implementations. And you have to select all these people, get them together, kind of convince them that they have to invest their time for this. Then comes, of course, the actual work of, you get in your submissions, you have to check them if they follow the rules, then you have to assign them to people, which is really, a lot of it is really handwork, where you have a huge matrix with, reviewers and papers, and then you have to assign them. And it's a lot of fun. It's like Tetris for professionals. It's crazy. Yeah. And since chess changed to the journal mode, we don't do this once per year. We have to do this 4 times per year. So it's more fun, right? So a warm round of applause. All right, next up is Peter and Elke, because they did it before, and they got this only virtually. Elke is unfortunately not here, but I know that she's watching us. Can we get the video from Elke? Leonard? Can you switch it around? Elke, if you switch on your webcam, people are going to see you. So I don't know. Just be warned. Be decent. So I'm already gonna give this to Peter. We go here. There's Nigel. Nigel is the one with the camera. And here's Elke. Woo! So there was a last minute, she was supposed to be here. There was some last minute hiccup with a passport or something, I don't know. And she was very, very upset. I'm not going to say the words that she said, but she was not happy. I can tell you that. So that's it. Elke, I'm going to mail this to you or give it to one of your colleagues.
Thank you.
So there's still some people that need a big thank you. So usually, when you organize the chess conference, we decide 2 years in advance where we have the next chess, around 2 years in advance. But due to COVID, this was all kind of messed up. You know, we didn't have physical chesses in the last years. And then at some point during last fall, we had to reschedule things and we had to decide for a location for chess. And so we were looking for crazy people that essentially needed to do the following jobs: essentially organize a conference for the first time with 2 tracks, with, let's say, less than a year in advance of organizing this, catching a location in a time where essentially all other events that have been canceled are also looking for new, looking for a slot of getting their events done. And we were looking for volunteers that actually could do that job. And in the end, we were very happy that Benedikt and Svetla then stood up and said, we will do this. We will organize Chess 2022 for the first time with 2 tracks here in Leuven. And so please come on stage. So there is a big applause for them, I think, for Yes, thanks for making this possible. Thanks for the great organization of this event. I think, there is not much to say. I mean, you can imagine how much work this is. I mean, organizing this event. Benedikt told me once now in the afternoon, actually, how much effort it is to have 2 tracks with the Zoom session then in addition. So this is an enormous effort. There is also a big thank you actually for the team here. Actually also a big applause for the team that supports the general chairs. All right, and of course, we also have certificates for you. So I'm also handing this over. So there is one for Benedikt as well. All right, thanks so much. And with that, back to work with the organization.
All right. Thanks. So we're going to do a break now so you guys can get refreshed. And we'll start in 20 minutes at 9, okay?